Welcome to the Money Mentor app. And welcome to the first class on fertile soil of the mind. Preparing the mind for success. I want to talk about the importance of preparing your mind to learn, the importance of having the right mindset and the right framework before we start. First thoughts, when we want to learn something new, it's natural for us to have resistance. Resistance just means that you don't want to do it. Now, why don't we want to do things that are good for us to do? Give me some reasons, anyone. Reasons vary, but usually they start with, I'm concerned I'm going to put effort into something, and it's not going to work out the way I have in my mind. We tend to call that failure. But I'm going to make an argument today that says if you try and you do the work, I assure you you're not failing, even if it feels like you are.
How do I know? Because I've had to work through all of these things to get to where I'm in life myself. I have a talk called Built by the Kindness of Strangers, which is there to remind me that if you seek out the right information and you work with the right people, miracles can happen. And when I say miracles, I mean just the right person will show up just at the right time with the exact thing that you need. But in order for that to happen, you have to have belief. The reason you have to have belief is because there's a part of your brain called the RAS, Reticular Activating System, and that's what we want to program for success. When I say that's what we want to program for success, I mean that's what we want to program ourselves so that our brain knows what to look for. This is also called framing. When we want to learn something new, first thing we want to do is want to frame the argument and slash or frame our understanding of the process. We want to give things that we want to learn and understand context.
So the thing that we want to do as we are learning is we want to flood our systems with chemicals that our bodies make themselves. And one way to do that is to get up and move around the room and do a jumping jack, or hop up and down, or play duck duck goose, because we need to move things around in our brains. And the easiest way to do that is to create some excitement chemicals. Now I know that I'm going fast with this topic. I know you might have to go back and listen to it more than once, and we'll talk about it more than once. But we want to frame things because we want to tell our brains what to look for. So today I'm going to acknowledge that you might be a little bit nervous, you might have a little bit of resistance, but I want to say to things that you should memorize right now. What resist persist. And what you focus on grows. So when we focus on our problems, and when we focus on our fear, and when we focus on resistance, we get more resistance. Let me give you an example. What we're doing right now is framing the idea that your brain naturally has resistance. And resistance mostly is a fear-based emotion. So when you have resistance to an idea, you really want to think, how am I feeling right now, and make a note of it. If you're feeling fear, that's okay, because that is a natural response to uncertainty. And uncertainty is a natural response to not knowing what's going to happen next. Now, one of the cool mindset tricks I can teach you is that when you don't know what's going to happen next, that also could make things exciting. And the part of your brain that relates to excitement, and that feels excitement, is right next to the part of your brain that feels fear, and that chemically you can almost easily get those two confused. Now that we're more in our bodies, and we're present, want to talk to you for a minute about how the typical person learns, and why sometimes we feel like we get stuck. Now, this is a science-based concept for those of you who like science, but it also was a spiritually based concept for those of you who understand the spirit. We have a spirit, of soul, and a mind. And each one needs to be addressed and taken care of for us to be at our best performance. Now, when we are learning new material, we want our mind to be like fertile soil. What do I mean by fertile soil? You know that in order for something to grow, the environment and the soil must be prepared. It must be tilled. There must be nutrients available to make new building blocks of life. Typically, the environment needs to be quiet enough that the plants can grow. And we need sunlight and energy source for the ideas to grow just like a plant. But we also need the correct environment. And today, that environment is this church and healthy Vallejo. Sometimes the environment is just the environment you create inside your own mind. So in order for us to learn just like planting the seed, we need our minds to be like fertile soil. When we focus on fear, we get more things to be afraid of. We will actually notice more things that make us nervous. So in order to prepare your mind to learn, we are going to focus on something really pleasant. So everyone, close your eyes just for a minute and think of the most pleasant thing that you can think of. Something that makes you feel happy. Or someone who makes you feel happy. Something that makes you feel safe, or some hope or dream that you have. And we're going to ground ourselves with breath. Let's put our feet flat on the floor and let's breathe in for 3 seconds. Hold it for 3 seconds. And breathe out for 3 seconds. There is no right or wrong way to do this. We just want to make sure that you're really in your body and present during this exercise. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. 1, 2. Now that we're more in our bodies and we're present, want to talk to you for a minute about how the typical person learns and why sometimes we feel like we get stuck. Now, this is a science-based concept for those of you who like science, but it also was a spiritually based concept for those of you who understand the spirit. We have a spirit of soul and a mind. And each one needs to be addressed and taken care of for us to be at our best performance. Now, when we are learning new material, we want our mind to be like fertile soil. What do I mean by fertile soil? You know that in order for something to grow, the environment and the soil must be prepared. It must be tilled. There must be nutrients available to make new building blocks of life. Typically, the environment needs to be quiet enough that the plants can grow. And we need sunlight and energy source for the ideas to grow just like a plant. But we also need the correct environment. A calm environment. Sometimes the environment is just the environment you create inside your own mind. So in order for us to learn just like planting the seed, we need our minds to be like fertile soil. Many times when we feel nervous or uncertain, or insecure, or afraid that we're going to be disappointed, or afraid that something's not going to work out, we harden ourselves, because we think we're protecting ourselves from hurt. And when I say we harden ourselves, we harden our minds and hearts, sometimes to new ideas or new thoughts. And when we harden ourselves to new thoughts, those new seeds or seed thoughts are not going to take hold and grow in us. If we make our mind like bricks, and we think we're trying to protect ourselves, when we put the seeds of new thought on the bricks, and even the slightest wind begins, even the slightest difficulty happens. When there's the slightest wind, the seeds or new thoughts will blow away and we will not be able to hold on to them. All of those new good thoughts become something that you acknowledge for a minute, but you couldn't hold on to long enough to let them take hold and grow. In this case, the soil of your mind was not prepared properly to receive the information, so we saw it for a second and it was gone. I call resistance the bricks of the mind. Some of the other bricks of the mind are thinking that how you think things work is how they actually work for everyone. This is a common mistake that most people make, especially when they're in the closed environment. They look at life and say life works this way because that's been my experience, and that's my experience because everyone I know has the same experience, and we all validate each other's experience. This is how we often start to think that what we've experienced is true for everyone. Let me tell you a secret: what's true for you is true for you. And there is nothing that anyone can do about that except for you when you decide to believe something different. What we believe is true is what we will act on. What we believe is true is what determines our behavior and our habits, and if you want to change your habits, you first have to change your beliefs. So when we prepare our minds, we want to make a space in our minds for the possibility that someone else is correct and that their experience will bring true for you as well. We call that borrowed benefits. What we really mean is borrowed experience. When you were a little kid and your parents said the stove is hot, some of you still had to touch it to see if it was hot, because no matter what, you're not going to trust the borrowed benefits of your parents knowing that was hot, because they have previously burned their hand. Some of you have to also burn your hand to go, okay, I agree that's hot. Others of you do not need to do every activity yourself and can more easily listen to people of authority who are there to protect you, who are there to help you and educate you and support you. And in that way, some of you are more open to the value of borrowed experience. So back to the idea of fertile soil. Fertile soil of the mind. Just like planting a plant or having a baby, usually we try to make a space, a physical space for the plant to grow. We usually get great soil, some vitamins, some water, a quiet sunny place to grow. Sometimes we get plant food, and we prepare the space so that the plant seed has the best chance of taking. Ideas like seeds have a life of their own. In one of my books, I mentioned you don't have to defend the truth. The truth is like a lion. All you have to do is release it, and it will defend itself. Plants are a little bit like that. So are ideas. And so I want you to do something for me right now. I want you to agree to suspend your disbelief. And no matter what I say for the next 4 weeks, or however long we have together, I want you every time I come into the room to pretend that what I'm saying is accurate, even if you don't understand it. And I want you to believe that it will work that way for you if we follow all the steps and do everything we need to prepare ourselves properly to be successful. Just like planting a seed, we want to prepare our mind to receive new information. And the easiest way to prepare your mind for new information is to prepare a space for that information, perhaps in a notebook that you keep, perhaps in a binder, perhaps in a workbook. Something that you can take with you that you can reread and study and think about. Just like those plants, you need to put energy into your ideas like sunlight and prayer and faith and love and hope. Without the energy behind the idea, it's not likely that that idea will grow. And just like a plant, you need to put fuel into your body. For your body to grow the same with your ideas. So let me tell you a secret, another secret to success. Transformation happens in an instant. People always want to say that it's hard to change, or it takes time to make a decision, or to make a change. It doesn't. That is widely misunderstood. Transformation happens in an instant, but what tends to happen is if people are not prepared for the new information, they just can't hang on to it. When I say they can't hang on to it, it's like when your mindset is like bricks, and we put the seeds down and the wind comes. The wind is anything that is going to interrupt the process. The seeds have nothing to hold on to in that case, and any wind will blow them away, and you'll have to start over. So if you don't want to go through that process over and over again, you will need to prepare your mind like fertile soil. So that the seeds of new thought have something to cling to hold on to someplace safe to live while they decide whether or not they're going to Germany. Germany just means grow. Until the seed takes, we have to maintain that fertile soil of the mind. And if you want to hold on to the transformation, you have to have tilled the soil of your mind and prepared yourself to win. The way when the transformation happens, you will be able to hold on to it, and it will be a much more pleasant experience to learn. One final thought that we can revisit to different day. As sometimes people get stuck. I get stuck, you get stuck, people get stuck on thoughts and ideas, sometimes when they're not even the thought we want. Like watching a bad movie until we've memorized it. I'm going to tell you one last secret, and then my time is up for today. Oftentimes when people are stuck in life just means they can't figure out what direction they should take. They're struggling with finding their purpose, or believing their purpose. It's often because they are in an environment where their values conflict with other people's values. Or you believe something, but you also believe something that contradicts that. And when you believe to things that contradict each other, it's kind of like a machine, where it doesn't know which direction to go in, and so you get stuck. When two opposing forces that are pretty much equal meet each other, and neither idea wants to give in, or to become smaller, we get stuck. I say this not because you'll understand how to undo everything the very first time we meet. But I say this so you understand that anything that can be lost, can be found. Anything that can be broken can be healed. And anything that can be known by one can be known by many. You are not broken, you are not flawed, you are born and made perfect in God's eyes, from the day that He made you, from the day you were a thought in your parents' minds. And so anything that can be learned by one, can be learned by many. That's my time for today. My name is Sarah Lee, and I'm the Money Mentor, and I look forward to talking to you all next week.